Hey everybody, hey AO. This is Marcia O'Connor with the O'Connor Group. It's time for HR Live, people. HR Live. Yeah, who else has like a tambourine that lights up like this? Okay, yeah, people like HR do. Okay, so and if people like this in HR do, you want to keep them because they're creative, they're innovative, and they're fun. So don't forget the magic tambourine here. Okay? So, anyways, welcome, happy Friday, everybody. It's been a little bit since I've been on here. Sorry, we've been like swamped. I actually think we've hired about 10 more people. I can tell you guys are going to make it happen. And being an entrepreneur is one of the best things you can ever do in your life. And so we're really excited to have you here today with us. And bring the questions in. And good morning, Sean. Right to you, buddy. And so we're real excited. So I've got a bunch of questions. We're going to go through all of them. And if you have any more questions, please put them in the comments, and I will try to get to them today as much as I possibly can. Okay. So the first one is from a dear friend, Heather. So Heather asks, when acquiring a company with existing employees, what is the best way to introduce them to the existing team and implement our current systems? And let me tell a little bit of background. I have reached out to a local groomer who is selling her company. I'm looking to buy her 3 vans, and it will come with her 2 other groomers and a bather. I want to make sure the transition is as smooth as possible, but she has no boundaries with them, and I want to be sure I'm able to keep them on board. But let them know how we run things. It won't be the same. Well, you know what? It's all about communication, Heather. And I think you want to put together a project plan of how to basically communicate all that. And obviously you have a handbook and you have different policies and procedures, and you want to give them a certain time frame to be able to read all that, sign off on all that. Hey, welcome aboard. Looking forward to having you. Want to hear your comments and all. Make them feel very welcome, but you want to put a timeline in there. And typically I tell people, like, listen, over the next 30 days, we're going to be doing some transitioning, going to have some town hall conversations with you, and really just go through, hey, here's our handbook. Want you guys to look it over. Want you to read it. You're going to sign off of it for the files. You're probably going to have to do new I-9s and all too to get them for their paychecks. And just say, hey, this is how we're doing things here, and you want to have a check-in. Make it really friendly, but the last thing you want to do is have people go crazy out there and take advantage of you. So you just want to put some guidelines in there. And I think it's just being upfront and honest and just making it a really fun place to come into. But you got to keep in mind, they're also really nervous because they don't know you. And change is hard for a lot of people. So put a timeline together of when you're going to have that communications plan, when you're going to have that handbook basically signed, and then talk about, all the benefits of coming on board and, how we do things differently, but how we're growing and to be a part of such success. And there's so much opportunity here with us. Make it sound a little more positive. But like I said, some people do take advantage of that. You want to just put a few timelines in there and all. And if you have any more questions, Heather, you know how to get a hold of us. So feel free to reach out. But great question, because that is usually a very scary thing to do as well. Okay? But make sure too the benefits. Sometimes depending upon what you have and what they have, you just want to make sure due diligence to figure out, what you're going to go with, all the different areas, because sometimes when people do buy companies, they'll either pick their benefit plan or keep their own, figure out what's missing. Sometimes they'll compensate that person if they're going less than a plan. All those different options you want to think about. But in regards to making sure everybody's on the same page, be very clear about that, put a timeline together, and write it down. Okay? All right. Talk to you soon. Another question from Heather. She's on a roll. What are the steps you should take and terms you should put into legal paperwork when acquiring a company? Well, there's a few things. I'm also a big believer in trying to even talk to an attorney, because there are a lot of paperwork that is involved, and you want to make sure that licenses are transferred. You want to make sure that the LLCs, and one of them has to begin, one of them has to end. It's really important to make sure you do that. And there are so many things. The little details out there. And I know there's LegalZoom. LegalZoom does a great job to get you started with all that stuff, but sometimes, just paying the little extra, having even an independent lawyer sometimes is a lot less expensive than basically having a big company and working with you. But I would definitely choose someone who understands small business as well as M&A and acquiring new businesses, because there's a lot of different lawyers out there and they all tell you that oh yeah, I can do it. But you want to make sure that they have experience in that, because there are a lot of forms and all you have to complete, and you want to make sure that nothing comes back to bite you down the road. Okay, very, very important there. So I would make sure that you talk to a lawyer one for that one. In regards to Derek, hi Derek, how are you today? Thanks for suggesting a question. When should I consider bringing in partners for a business? And the background is, this is a learning system that will be primarily delivered via an app and have web access as well. But back to your question about bringing in partners for a business, that's really up to you. You know, you have to figure out, do you need them right now? And if you do need them, in what capacity? You have to figure out, you know, do you want them 50-50 split? Do you want to have it 49-51? I prefer to have most ownership. So I always tell people, like, be at least 51% so you can make most of the decisions. Just make sure it's very clear about expectations if you go 50-50. I've had a lot of people get burnt, especially with small startup businesses, as to, you know, I have this partner and they sound great and everything's moving forward. You just want to make sure it's very clear about the expectations about what this person does and what this person does. And you want to make sure that's also written down and, you know, a legal form together, because you got to keep in mind about the equity, about share of pay, and it gets very frustrating if you have a partner and you know you're doing most of the work, and because you have a partnership with them now, they get 50-50. You need to be careful about that. So make sure, it's another one sometimes you want to talk to, probably a lawyer as well, but like I said, small business lawyer. It's a really tricky conversation, but for some people, partners have been great because they're good advocates and someone to talk to about things and someone to go through the ups and downs in your business, where I've also heard the other side of the house of, be careful with your partners. Is there a way that you could work with them right now and keep them on board as a separate entity, like a vendor, until you really get a good feel about working with each other and then bring them on board? I just have heard a lot of, you know, ups and downs with that. So just be very, very careful and make sure that passion is there with that other, that partner before you bring them on board, because you, as you all know, you're all small business. It's a lot of work. It's our lives. It's our livelihood. We talk about this all the time, and you want to make sure that partner is thinking about the same way as you in regards to really getting it moving. Now, I do have a friend of mine. She is a small business. She has a small marketing business, and she has 2 silent partners. And that's a different story, because they're really not too involved. They're not visible, obviously, but they've actually given her a lot of money to keep the shop running and keep things moving. And that's a little bit different, because they actually have more ownership than she does, but she's the face and she's the president. And you can set it up that way too, but like I said, sometimes you have less control because now you have 2 people or 1 person that you're reporting to. So it really depends upon how you set it up. But you really want to think this through. And it sounds real good right now, but think 5, 7, 10 years down the road as to where you want to take it, and would this person actually be on the same page with you? And that's where it gets sticky. I always call it the 7-year itch when you have a partner. It's just like having a spouse, right? You're just like, am I going to do this for the long haul or not? So you want to make sure, because when you have a partnership in regards to a business, if you do dissolve, you have to buy that person out, and it can get very sticky, especially if you're very successful. Okay? Alrighty. Sounds good. Thanks for the question. Scott Dunlap. Hi, Scott. Is it best that I continue working with a large brokerage, or should I venture out to establish my own RIA? Fee-based, can fee only, or should I look to join a team or partner with independent advisors? You know, again, I think these are like really sometimes personal questions in regards to figuring out what you want to get out of it. You know, should I continue to work with a large brokerage, or should I venture out? Once you venture out, you know, you got to keep in mind what you want in the long term here. And fee-based can, I actually, when I do my stuff and all my financial stuff, for my team. Actually, I have a really good group. I actually moved over my 401k plan. Honestly, I didn't like the information I was getting from my prior place, and I kept asking them, I need more information. I would ask for like what my costs were, and I never got a real answer out of it, which doesn't make any sense. And so when you start asking all those kind of questions, you have to figure out what's best for you. I personally like working as a small company. I like working with a mid-sized brokerage, actually, because I have more personal attention. So that's what we did. We actually moved it all over, our stuff actually, to like a mid-sized company that not only took care of 401ks, but also had an investment side of the house. And to be honest with you, all my fees are upfront. We pay them quarterly. I'm very clear with my team about that. I think I'm paying less money now than I was paying before because everything is so clearly indicated. So it really depends upon your relationship with basically your brokerage, as well as what you're getting out of it, as well as the fees, because a lot of times they don't really always share with you, they're supposed to, all the actual fees that go along with it. So you just want to make sure that you figure those things out. But your description here is financial planner, currently work with a large firm, produce insurance, assets under management, fee-based planning, but limited scope on both the insurance and AUM side. I'm becoming less interested in selling insurance, but is a good revenue driver as I need to increase my blah, blah, blah to make decent MRR. Torn on which direction I need to go. You know, it's really going to be a choice up to you. I have two friends that they are a part of a really large brokerage, but they have their own group. I have one guy, his name is Mike, and he has 3 employees. And you know what? He's very happy where he's at because he really enjoys the large brokerage that he works with, and he seems to be very happy. It's really what you want to do and where you want to go. I am a true entrepreneur, so I personally like, you know, doing my own things out there and getting it going. It depends upon if you want to have that comfort, you know, of having that large brokerage behind you, or are you okay basically going out on your own? Now, I have my insurance group. They do a phenomenal job, and they left a really big brokerage, and they decided to do everything on their own. And exactly why? They wanted to do insurance. They wanted to do PNC. You know, D&O, errors and omission, and they're doing phenomenally well on their own kind of a deal. But it took a little time, and they basically broke off with 4 partners. So you had a little bit more cushion, a little bit more contacts, a little bit more network and all too. So just make sure you have all those things in place before you go out on your own. But it's really going to be a personal question for you. And I would put down like on a piece of paper, like your costs, the benefits, the pros and the cons, and just say pros and your cons, and really take a look at that before you make that decision. That's a big decision, okay? But I like everything doing myself, so I have a lot of people that we work with and we partner with out there. But I prefer, as a business owner, I prefer to keep everything under my house kind of a deal. I think Sean does too, and so it's interesting to see all that. But nonetheless, side note, you see all Sean's great bling out there? Awesome stuff, guys. So very exciting to see all that. I hope you guys are seeing that and picking up on some of his awesome bling out there. And he's really, you know, I'm really proud of him because he's worked really hard and helping all of you guys really get out there as well. And so I am so pumped. Hi, honey. Good morning. So it's pretty fun stuff out there. But get involved, listen to all the mentors, stick together here. It is a really crazy busy time, and there's a lot of growth going on right now. And hang out with the people who are, like, you know, just killing it, because you want to make sure, like, hey, what's happening? How are we doing this? What's next out there? It's such a great avenue of individuals to relate to, okay? So Sarah Hamilton asked a great question. Can you recommend any apps or programs to use for organizing your to-do list, prioritizing tasks, and time blocking? And the question is, I own a growing and expanding barbershop and need help with organizing. You know, there's a lot of different apps and programs out there for organizing your to-do list and all. So one of the things I use just to get started, and it has like it's a basis on my computer, is Office 365. So Office 365 has Outlook, and I use Outlook for everything, to keep track of all my stuff, and my list, my time blocking. I use a lot of times for my OneNote, and it has a system. So once you do that, you actually have a system that you can actually purchase like the software and all through that system, but that's called Office 365. And then when you have more employees, they can have email access as well. And then I actually have an email address, and you can give them access to more software systems and all. And it's not really that expensive, especially when you have a business account. But it does get expensive when you keep, like 25, 50 employees. But you know what, when you're starting off, that's the first thing that I had asked when I was basically starting. And I asked a really good friend of mine, I said, hey, I need to do like email, I need to basically have my calendar. And he said, hands down, he wanted to do Office 365. Now, I'm a big, person that uses Microsoft products and all. If you use an Apple, you could still use it, but a lot of times it's a little different. I don't know enough about Apple products. You know what? Ask an 18-year-old, okay? Because they know way more than I do. And they'll tell you what they're using right now to keep track of all their time. And there are wonderful apps out there, and I don't know if you've done this yet, but I would Google and put out there, great apps for organizing your to-do list. And you might want to put in there for barbershops and see what comes up. It's amazing what Google now does. And actually, half my company has been built on asking Google why for so many things that I didn't know how to get a hold of out there. And I realized that it was right in front of me. I also did a lot of stuff actually on YouTube and finding out like I want to be a HubSpot super user. So this summer, one of my things is trying to figure out how to use it to my best ability. HubSpot is a customer relationship management, as well as our marketing documents. All our marketing documents go into this software called HubSpot, and I didn't know how to use it, so now I'm trying to be more like an expert user. Even though I have people that do all that, I'm real curious. So make sure you go online and ask those questions, because like I said, and ask other barbershops and all too what they might use. But I think the more technology that you use in your company and getting to know it more and to streamline your processes, you're going to outdo your competitors, because it's usually those kind of businesses that don't have those kind of tools. And I think a lot of times people get scared about using technology because they're afraid of cost. And to be honest with you, there's so much new technology out there, and when you really start asking about cost, you realize this isn't as expensive as I thought. But people don't realize that until they ask. And when you're not an entrepreneur, you just try to save money everywhere. I get it. I've been there. So you want to ask basically what other tools are out there to help you out with this, okay? And make sure you have a tool too, because apps are changing out there. You want to make sure you have a software system that basically is growing, is doing well out there, and is moving and growing, because there's some that are out there that are small, but what happens is like all your stuff gets into it, and then a year or two later it's gone, and you're like, oh, I gotta start all over again. And that would be a panic attack for me. But you want to make sure that there's a system. Like I love Office 365, so if you get a chance, look at that program. It's wonderful. Okay. Heather again. All right. Question asked, I'm looking for the best way to get around employees having clients' personal information. Company phone, Google Voice, etc. I'm having an issue with former employees breaking a legally binding contract and reaching out to clients, and would like a workaround so they are not able to access this information if that's possible. We offer high-end, holistic grooming experiences for busy pet owners whose animals are part of the family. Now, okay. I totally get it. You can do a company phone. The thing that I have found out what company phones are, number one, the equipment's expensive. It's not getting any cheaper, right? And everybody is like, you can't even get, the small phones anymore because everything's so expensive. Number two, you can do Google Voice and have it go through that way. I know what we're doing right now is we're doing Zoom phone. So Zoom has an option. It's $15 a month for one of my employees, and they get a phone, and so they can call people through their computer. They can call people through their phone, and it's through Zoom actually. So you would open up the Zoom app, and then you make the phone call through that. Now, for example, when they leave, all that information is on your Zoom main control. They don't get access to that. And so you would just turn that Zoom off, and they won't have access to that. So that's one way to do it. There are a bunch of other things that are happening out there too. But you know what you want to do, Heather, is when they come on board, they have to probably fill out a form about a non-solicitation. And you want to make sure that you have it on there for at least a year and have them sign off on it. And then when they are leaving, if they do leave, I know what clients have done before is they'll send them a copy of that non-solicitation to remind them that basically, hey, by the way, you know, wish you luck in your best place, but don't forget you've signed this. And can you enact on it? You actually can. It just gets really, I always tell people, depending how much money you want to spend, because it can get a little pricey out there. But it is really hard to do that, but you want to make sure that you have a non-solicitation when they begin and when they basically come on board. But it's signed, and they are fully aware of it. But like I said, there are new options out there. I can tell you Google is one. I think, believe it or not, Microsoft Teams has a phone system now too. And the nice thing about all that, because it does get a text to their phone, but they don't keep that information in there. It goes right to the Zoom app instead, or to the Microsoft Teams app. And that's another way to basically protect yourself, okay? But I would just say make sure it's very clear, you know, about, hey guys, we're working really hard, and you know, just let you know we have a non-solicitation here, but you know, we appreciate that, and you know, you can only bring them to the horse to the water so much, but you got to do your best with that. And I know we're pretty clear about that around here too as well. Okay. All right. Next question, Derek Lacrone. Hello, Derek. What sales management tools do you use or recommend, example, a CRM, for coaching a growing 65-person B2B team? Well, first of all, congratulations on having a growing 65-person B2B team. That's outstanding. You should be really proud of yourself. Go like this. You deserve it. It's a lot of work. So the CRM, there's a bunch of them, right? And a CRM, for those people who don't know, is the customer relationship management. So it's basically taken, you know, say you have a business card, right? And, you know, I'm sure your table, if you look down, you probably like, I have a lot of business cards around here. It's taking these cards and basically inputting all the information on here into a system so that you have all those cards into one area. Now, the greatest thing about a CRM is a bunch of different things. One of them is, like, if you want to send out a newsletter to all these people that you have met over the year, you're going to send a newsletter out, and it can go out to all these people. You can tag them as to whether or not, like, male or female. You can tag them as to, like, what event you met them in. All these different things. Now, a CRM is great, and when you're growing like that, you're definitely going to need a person to be managing that CRM. Because it's like, you know, junk in, junk out. You got to put as much stuff in there that you're actually going to use. And you have to figure out how you're going to use that CRM. I personally like HubSpot, but HubSpot can be a little expensive, but they do have a version for new entrepreneurs. And it's not so expensive out there. So HubSpot, HUBSPOT. There are a lot of different CRMs. When I first got started, I used an app called Insightly, INCIHTLY, Insightly, and that really helped us get started and have a database of individuals ready to go. But then you want to move into other areas to help you in regards to your sales, regards to your marketing. And the nice thing, the bigger that CRM system becomes, the more report generation you're going to get from it. And, you know, I always ask too, because all these guys are all competing with each other, and you can always do a trial basis with a bunch of them too and see how it goes for you. But, you know, they understand that you're an entrepreneur, you're growing fast, they want your business. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. Never assume the price they give you, okay? And you always have ways around that and to help them out. But a CRM is a phenomenal tool. I've been in business for 14 years. And like I said, we started with Insightly, and it was small little areas. I now have a person who manages it for me. It's very helpful for me because I send out a newsletter every 2 weeks, and that newsletter brings in so much business for us, I can't even tell you. And we just do it, hey, what's going on? This is the HR world. This is what's happening in recruiting world. Oh, by the way, these entrepreneurs are new in the area. You should visit them. I mean, it's really pretty cool. If you get a chance, try to do a newsletter if you could, because that really helps everybody you talk to. It's a communication that goes out to everybody. And let me tell you something, that is one of the best sales tools I have, and it's all because of our CRM system, okay? But if you had any more questions on that, let me know. It takes some time to get up to speed, because what they don't tell you is when you get these CRMs, they just give you the shell, okay? And what you need to figure out is how to take that shell and make it work for you. And so sometimes you have to figure out, like, a little bit of, sometimes not the programming side, but what's going to go in, what's going to come out, how are we going to use it and all. They don't always tell you that. They just want your business. So be careful about that and try to do your homework. And you know what? Again, put into Google, best CRM systems for under 100 employees and see what they say, because there's new ones coming out all the time. But don't forget, never settle for the price, the first one you get, and negotiate, okay? Hang in there. All right. Next question, Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay. How do I get my product in front of a corporate client? I own a truffles company and want to get involved. Oh, Lindsay, I remember your truffles, my dear. They are delicious. So I can't wait to see you again. I own a truffles company and want to get involved in corporate gifting. I am looking to get my product in front of small business owners and corporations to get bulk orders and subscription orders. And you certainly should, because your truffles are amazing. You know what? You gotta have to. So how do I? There's a lot of different ways, actually, and I always try to make it of like an incentive, or so. Right now, employee engagement is a big deal. And what I call September is going to be called the Great Resignation period. What does that mean? I predict that by the end of the summer, and when Social Security, the additional Social Security ends, and the COBRA subsidy ends, that a lot of people are going to go back to work, but a lot of people are going to change their jobs. And I think they wait until September because vacations are over. It's sunny. Everybody's had a really tough year, tough 2 years. And I think you're going to see a lot more people change their jobs. So now, if Delta comes back like it's trying to come back, that might change. But if I'm seeing what I'm seeing right now, I see a lot more people resigning in September timeframe. Now, that means employers need to find a way to keep employee engagement. And what I would do as an idea is basically use your company as a way basically to say thank you gifts. And what I always have trouble finding out there is, I'm a big gifter for my team. I never really find, employee thank you gifts that or like personalized. And I think one of the things you could do is saying, hey, we'll personalize your gift for you. This is a nice way to say thank you. Hey, get out there before, if someone's leaving, employee engagement, and go all around employee engagement, because people always love food, especially chocolate. And, it's a nice way to say, hey, thanks for everything you're doing for us. And you know what, too? There's this great site called, like, National Day. And there's so many national days. Like, today could be National Pancake Day, or National, hey, say hi to your friend today day. And that might be a really cool thing, just putting a message out to all your people. Hey, don't forget, next month's coming up is National Take Care of Your Employee Day. That was April, but things like that. So you're constantly out in front of your clients and saying, hey, we have an idea for you. Why don't you send, these truffles? And if you like, send us your logo, and we'll have ribbon made basically that has your logo on it, and then we'll ship them out for you. As a matter of fact, why don't you do a subscription plan where every 4 months we'll send a new set of truffles out to your team to keep employee engagement, and tie it around that niche, because I think it's really, I honestly, guys, I think it's going to be a big deal. And I also think that we're out there, believe it or not, I think it's going to be a tough time to keep your employees. I don't care like what you're trying to do out there, because everybody's tapping them. For example, for right now, there are 5 jobs open for every 1 person. And I don't think people sometimes understand that. I'm hearing a lot of CEOs that are making their people come back to work, like it's mandatory. All I'm going to tell you is, if they've been working from home and everything's been working well, and now all of a sudden you want everybody back in the office, you're going to be a little bit patient. because eventually people will go through FOMO, fear of missing out. But you gotta not make it so hard on them and say you have to be in the office because now we're back together. Because a lot of people, I think, are still afraid. They have to get them eventually to come back into that world. But you also have to be careful because a lot of people are going to resign. And because we have 5 jobs right now for every one person, it's really hard to replace that person. So be careful what you wish for by pushing them too much to come back right away. But I think having a truffle company, a subscription service, personalizing the logo, oh my gosh, call me, I'll use you. Because the fact that I'm always trying to figure out ways to basically take care of my team. Like for next month, it's small little things just to saying thank you. Like I know sometimes you don't have money, just by sending us a card out that says, hey, thanks for all your hard work. Your employees keep this stuff, guys. And, it's just small things like that that go a long, long, long way. And you know what? It's just really cool things that you guys can be doing out there. So just some ideas for you. So I hope that helps. But I hope you are super successful because your truffles are amazing. Well, I could use one right now, actually. But I don't even have coffee yet. All right, AJ, how do you know when it's time to fire a client? Great question. It's a question I think we ask ourselves every day as entrepreneurs, right? So let's talk about your background. In my online marketing agency, there are 2 specific clients who consistently are frustrating to deal with. The communication standards do not exist, and when they need something, they expect our undivided attention at the expense of anything else, and they constantly struggle to pay us on time. Both can afford us. It's not a cash flow issue. That's annoying. That's where I get really ticked off. I'm at the point where I'm ready to be done with them mentally, but firing them would reduce our monthly revenue by about 30%. I'm struggling with the idea of losing that much revenue, but gaining so much time back. I think as a startup entrepreneur, we have all been there. And you need to make a decision as to, first of all, the things that they say, sometimes too, they know they have you, right? They're like, we got these guys. They can do whatever we want because they need us. And sometimes I feel as if you need to let them know, like, listen, we've got this great relationship we're doing with you and all, but I think we could work better. And here are some ideas that we would suggest for us working on for the future because we're getting really busy. So they don't need to know that you are 30%. They are 30% of their business. They never need to know that. That's between you and you. But what I would do is have them feel as if, like, listen, we are getting super busy, and I really feel as if there are some other ways to work with us, and we really appreciate that. Now, when they don't pay you on time, I use a little bit of a guilt trip, and that guilt trip is, hey guys, thanks so much. We're a small business. I know you've been a small business. Cash is king, and so we want to make sure that our invoices are sent out to you 30 days. Is there anything that we can do differently on our end to speed up the process of getting paid? And sometimes they realize they're doing that. Sometimes they don't realize that. For example, I had a client that I had to call because my team was like, okay, Marcia, you need to call now because these guys, they owe me $16,000. And so I called the CEO, and he's like, hey, what's happening? I'm like, did we do something wrong? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, I'm a little bit concerned. I said, because we have a pretty high balance for you guys, and that's not like you. And I know that that we're small business, and cash is king. Is there anything that we can do to expedite getting paid more promptly? Well, first, I think he was very embarrassed. He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, yeah, it's pretty large. And he's like, let me look into it. And so I sent him the invoice on a text message, by the way, so he would read it immediately. And, and so within a week, we had got our money. But I think when you start putting that communication back to them, should I be concerned? And I've got a question here. Why is this happening? Oh, by the way, we're really busy. I actually had a client the other day who kept pushing off, not ready for a decision, not ready for a decision. I know they needed us. They kept saying, we really need you, but not there yet. So I sent him a message. I sent him an email, real nice. I said, hey, I fully understand how busy you guys are. And I said, I get it. We just won 2 really large accounts, which is going to take up some of my manpower that I have assigned for yours. So I'm cool. This is not a pushy email. This is just basically being very clear about expectations to make sure that we can really make sure I have the best people for this role for you. Guys, by the morning, I had gotten a signed contract saying we're ready to go. So it's really how you word it, of how you describe it out there and what you do. But when you know it's time to fire a client, you know it's needed, but sometimes it's painful when they're that high. But you want to do it in the way of like, hey, I'm really concerned because of the fact that I feel like, our relationship has been so great and we love you guys. You guys have been wonderful, but we've seen some areas that we could probably work on. So I wanted to sit down with you and go over those and see where we want to go together on this. You could be as nice as pie, be very clear about expectations, be very clear about deadlines, and then what I would be doing, because this is annoying you so much, just figure out, okay, if this is 30%, what other client can I get out there that's going to basically take care of that and basically move it in there? And then guess what? You're the driver's seat. And you're saying, you know what, we're so busy right now, I'm not so sure we can do that. When they're so used to getting what they want and you push back on them and start saying, hey, listen, we're not sure we're going to have time for you, you better believe things change because they're so used to working with you. So I understand about the 30%, but you want to make sure that, 1, have a conversation with them, 2, put in writing all the different things of how we could work better together, and then 3, just basically say, we're going to move forward on that. Are you good with that? I want to make sure we're clear. And then get like an okay via email or even a document, and then see how they do with it. And just say, hey, I thought we were really clear about this, yada, yada. We're getting really busy and getting moving. Just be honest and upfront. Just never let the other person know that you are 30% of my business, okay? Because then they have the upper hand. So just be cautious about that too, and figure out what you want to do. I have fired clients over the years, but my first 3 years I didn't fire too many because I needed the work, right? But there were ways around it that I just made it very clear. And keep in mind, my logo that I say to everybody, you control it or it controls you, okay? All right, thanks for the question. Joe Nugent, all right, how do I offer benefits to my team members when I only have a few? Who do I speak with? I have a home inspection. Oh, it's Joe the Home Pro. Hi, Joe the Home Pro. I own a home inspection and home watch company. So, listen, when you have benefits, they're amazing. So when people have benefits, there's 2 ways of looking about benefits, guys. People want to go to companies that have benefits. Now, you can have benefits and not pay for benefits too. They're called voluntary benefits. And people will be like, well, you have benefits. Well, yeah, we offer voluntary benefits. And they still get a discount because it's through a company policy, but you're not paying anything for it. That's a voluntary benefit. Once you start paying for benefits, you can't take that away. So you want to be cautious about what you offer first and figure out who needs it. Now, when you offer benefits, you need 2 or more people, okay? And that cannot be the owner, all right? So you need 2 or more W-2 employees to offer benefits. And what you want to do with that, there's a few ways. If you're small, sometimes a PEO will help, okay? Professional Employment Organization, meaning that a PEO will give you really, really discounted rates for benefits. But the idea about PEO is they also want to do your payroll, they want to do your HR, and they want to do basically, the forms, the handbook, and everything else behind it. But what happens is if you're going to be like 25, 50 employees, you don't want it. I personally don't think you want a PEO. You only want to work with basically a benefit broker out there. And you want to get a mid-sized benefit broker too, not the really, really big guys, but the little guys, because they're working hard like you are, and they're great referral sources because they get to know everything that you do. And they want to help you succeed because then they get paid. So you want to work with the smaller guys out there that provide truly benefit brokerages out there, and just start asking people. They're very involved with your chambers of commerce, your entrepreneur networks out there, very helpful. But you got to have 2 people or more to start protecting with benefits. Now, the benefits rule of thumb, don't forget this. Okay, you can always add benefits. It's really hard to take away benefits. Okay, I have sometimes clients, I have a life science client, I want to give them everything. I want to pay for all this. I want to do all this. I'm like, that's great when you're 5 people. That's not so great when you're 50 people, because that's a humongous expense below payroll. And so you want to make sure that you give them enough that they're taken care of. Most people just care about medical. They do. And if you can get a decent medical plan out there, there's United Health, there's Aetna, there's Cigna, there's the Blues, and all. You want to work with a benefit broker to figure out which one's best for you, and move it up from there. People really do care about the medical side more than like anything. They also care about for benefits as your PTO. PTO is a big thing. I call it BTO versus vacation because I incorporate everything into one. And just I think people really want to see that a company has that. Now we have both. I offer medical, I offer dental. But when I first got started and I had 5 employees, what I did was basically I offered medical. I didn't even have dental guys for like 3 years after that because it was expensive, and I wanted to make sure I paid payroll first. And you have to keep in mind, you can always add it down the road once you get bigger. But like I said, you can't always start with it because it's hard to take away. And so you really want to be cautious about how you're doing it and how much money you want to spend. Big question is, do you just cover the employee or do you cover the employee's dependents? And so those are questions. I do not cover the dependents right now, even though that's a big question that keeps being posed to me about retaining your people and can we provide more to that. But we decided to add more to a high deductible HSA, health savings account, which they can keep and they can grow and they can take with them if they ever leave our company. It's like a mini savings account they use for healthcare expenses, but they can still take it with them. So really sit down with the benefits broker to figure out what you need to get you started. But like I said, if you're small, that expense comes every single month, whether or not it's a good economy or not. That does not change. And I sometimes think with entrepreneurs, they're like, oh, I want to give them the best of everything, and that is admirable, and I appreciate that. You have to keep in mind it's a cash flow issue, because if things are bad, like last year, a lot of people had a hard time paying during March, April, and May their monthly medical benefits because of the fact that they had the money coming in, but they were binded by that because they don't stop their coverage. They keep invoicing you. They will stop that coverage, and then your employee gets really mad. So be very careful about that, okay? If you have any other questions, Joe, reach out to me too personally, and I'll take care of you with that as well. All right, next question, AJ. Good morning. How do you build a plan to reach your goal? So your background is Sean's group post today challenged me to consider my plan of reaching 1 million in revenue for our online marketing agency. You go. I don't have much of a plan beyond an annual goal of 10,000 a month in revenue and figure it out mindset. Not having a strong plan is clearly holding me back. I want to build this business. I want to be successful. I want to have the cash flow to take weekend trips to AO meetings without feeling guilty. How do I, and you should definitely do that. They're wonderful, by the way. How do I begin laying the groundwork for that growth? There are a bunch of tools out there that you can use to do all that. I know exactly what you're saying. I am a big goal person myself. We follow a system called EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, and you can actually download a lot of their forms and their documents. But what you want to do is if you want to do that 1 million in revenue, right, and you're basically doing a 10K a month, it's breaking that 10K down and figuring out how are you doing that? How many connections do you need? How many sales do you need? What's the average number of that sale? And it sounds as if you don't like to do that. I got it. So what you're going to do, if I were you, is I would get somebody who is really good with numbers to sit with you and walk you through how to get to that role. And even ask Sean, because Sean has so many great mentors and great connections out there. I am sure, like someone like Dan out there, Dan would be very big helpful for you at figuring out, from that 10K a month in revenue. Well, how are you going to do that? What are the tools you're going to have to do? How much sales? How many meetings a week? What do I need to do? What's the average sale cost? How long is it to come in? You got to break those things down so that by week you get to see where you're at. So what we have done with EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, and you can find everything online. They have a lot of great YouTube demonstrations and all too, and watch him how he breaks out that annual goal, breaks it down per month, breaks it down per week, per day. And once you start capturing those metrics that mean a lot to your company to hit to that goal, you will actually start achieving that goal, and then you won't feel so guilty going to Sean's trips. But you got to have that, basically that stuff breaking down. Now, I get you. It gets very overwhelming, because it's like opening that credit card statement, right? You open it up and you're like, oh, did I really spend that much money this month? When you look at those numbers and you break everything down, it's a lot easier to achieve those goals, because you know exactly what you need to do per day. But the fact you're looking at the month is great, but sometimes it's also a deer in headlights. So you have to be honest to yourself, get real with the conversation, break it all down, and figure out, what do I need per week? What do I need per day? But have somebody help you with that, okay? And once you have that, you have to stick to that plan. And you want to make sure that you're accountable. So work with somebody to show that you're accountable. Because if you don't, you're going to go back to that, I don't think I want to do that. I just want to have that 10,000. And then what happens at year end, you're going to get disappointed. So don't do that, and work with somebody to keep you accountable. And we have a lot of coaches with Sean's group and all. So definitely reach out with that. But you can do this, and you will do this. And you'll see that you're probably going to even hit over 1 million. And you can definitely do this. But you have to be honest with yourself and break it down and make sure that you're sticking to your goals and your action plan. Okay? All right, next question. Quade Sturdy. How soon is too soon in regards to scaling? I am an owner, operator of my construction business. I'm only 23. You go! I think that's awesome. And there can be a lack of credibility that follows. Yep. I know, I'm a female, I get it. I would love to get my vision crystallized and put into motion. However, I feel I will face people that may not want to work for a 23-year-old. Listen, you're going to have it. It's the way it is right now. You know what you got to do, though? You are that visionary. You are that person. You're just going to have people that will believe in you and see you for what you are. It is hard. It is hard out there. It is hard when you first get started, because people don't always think that you know what you're doing when it's just you. And I have been there. And I used to tell people all the time that I would be like, well, my team's going to work on this. And my husband always say to me, well, who's your team? You don't even have employees. I said, me, myself, and I. Nobody needs to know that it's just me. And so you want to make sure that it's really important as to how you are perceived out there, and let people know that you have a team and you don't really have a team. And I even had I didn't have an office. I was using my office out of my home. And so what I would do is I put my address on there, and I would put Suite 100. And my husband's like, why are you doing that? I say, well, because people don't know I don't have an office. So if I put Suite 100, people will think I have an office and I'm doing better than I'm doing. And I need them to perceive that I have that, because more people will talk to me and I will get more business. And people are like, well, isn't that lying? I'm like, no. I just told people that my office was under construction, so I would meet them at their offices all the time when I got started. Hey, I did that for like over 5 years, guys, before I had my first office. And it worked. And then you hire your contractors, and then I hired, and after 3 years, I hired my first employee. And, now I have more of it. It didn't happen overnight. And so I think if you want to scale, congratulations. The one regret that I had is that I waited too long to get started. And, I think if I would do it again, I would have definitely done it in my 20s, getting started, because you have a lot more energy and a lot more willpower and all too. But be around people who have been successful, who have been able to scale, and just ask questions away. This is what's so great about Sean's group. You have so many mentors and coaches that you can reach out to of how to do this and get it going. And when you say scaling, it starts with one person. And then all of a sudden you figure out, I can afford them, this is going well. And now listen, I've hired a lot of people over the years. I've gotten very tight with a lot of people over the years. People believe you. And it's hard. It's like a punch in the gut, because you put your time and your soul and your effort into them, but it's not their company. And you need to be okay with that. And that is really sometimes really hard to do. But you got to still be that visionary. You still have to get up every day. You're still paying the bills every day. This is your baby. This is your sweat and tears. So you just want to make sure that you're kind to yourself there too, because it can get very frustrating sometimes, but you want to do scaling. If you want to do it, do it. Just make sure like you're around people that understand that and then who believe in you and where you're going and what you're doing. And just be honest, but make sure like when you start scaling, you're going to need a handbook. You're going to need basically some procedures and all too. You're going to need to make sure you have a payroll system because people, number one rule is they get paid, okay? And number two is make sure that handbook is very clear about expectations, everything else, because sometimes I've seen too is that very first employee, they get chummy, well, I'm the first employee, so you do what I need to do. And then what happens is your company is really scaling and growing, and in 7 years, you're a really different company than you were when you first started. And sometimes that employee is not always what you need now that you're at 7 years. So you got to be very careful and be careful with how much you say. You're always going to be the boss and you want to share a lot of stuff with them, but sometimes that can backfire. So just be cautious too. But I don't think it's ever too soon to scale. You just want to make sure that you can afford it. You know, if you have a revenue stream coming in and you can see things like for 6 months in regards to like, you know, getting paid and things are moving well, then you can scale immediately. But you just want to make sure that they're always being paid and make sure that, like I said, that person now is a lot different sometimes than what you need in 7 years too. So don't tell them everything, and because it's hard. It's hard when they leave, but definitely do it. Go for it. Don't let anybody hold you back. There's going to be a lot of naysayers around you. You're 23. Oh, what do you know? Oh well. Like, see ya, I'm doing this. So stick around people who have been there and done that. And I'm sure Sean knows other people who are in their 20s who've been super successful. And, you know, reach out to them and figure out what worked well, what didn't work well. And just learn from all that because think about it. You're probably one of the 1% in the 20s that are doing something like that. And you should be so proud of yourself to even be this far. But you know what? Don't let the trees get in front of you from stopping what your success is going to be. Because there's a lot of naysayers out there, and I think people don't, I don't know, they just don't always like, oh, that's so nice, how long are you going to be doing that? You just go around them and be like, I'm doing this. And then look back one day and be like, I know what? I had a lot of people saying no to me, but I did it. And that's going to be you. Okay, so you go. All right, Quade, you keep on going with questions here. I love it. What are the essential business systems all organizations need to thrive? You know, all right, I'm trying to scale my construction business as fast as possible. However, I must maintain a strong foundation. Yes, you do. I would like to know what the most vital pillars are to build from start. Now, number one, I gotta tell you is your payroll. You got to make sure you have payroll. You got to have a system for your general ledger that everything is good to go. I always say hire a bookkeeper to handle your books and all too, because what's the last thing you want to do is worry about that when you're doing business development and things like that. So work with somebody that you can trust and also do your payroll. So that was my first thing that I had started with, and that was my first thing to spend money on was actually an outsourced bookkeeper as well as payroll. Because you want to make sure that is all taken care of. And keep in mind you have to do like quarterly 941 tax forms when you have payroll, which are a pain in the neck because you do not want to do them. So again, hiring an outside group to do that. You could just have a payroll company as well, but then having somebody do your general ledger and your books, have it set up right the first time. It gets painful after like 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and redoes everything, and that's expensive too. So number one is getting that in place. Number two is, you know, in regards to just for your employees, you have a system for your employees for like onboarding as to, you know, an I-9s are all online. They're the forms that people have to fill out when they become an employee. They also have to fill out a W-4 form for the payroll company. You know, all those things. Make that process as smooth and easy as possible for them to come on board, because sometimes those little areas are basically, they hold back successful companies from moving faster because they don't have a system in place. And then figure out, like having a handbook. A handbook's going to help you. Have a basic handbook, guys, just to protect you guys out there. It's also going to be very helpful. These are the biggest business systems, really. It's just your general ledger. There's QuickBooks out there. There's Xero, Xero, and then I have a payroll system. There's Paychecks, there's ADP, There's also really small firms in the area. Sometimes they're great to work with because they work with small companies like yourself, but they help you because they want to survive as well. And so you want to find companies out there that are hungry like you are, because they're great referral sources for you, okay? I hope that helps you. But those are the basics to get started. There are so many other things to do. You just want to have your core. You need to have your books in good shape. You need to have payroll. You need to make sure that somebody coming on board is systematic. So have all those things. You also want to have, like, I also started with Office 365 from all my email correspondence, so that I could have, I downloaded, my PowerPoint, my Word, my Excel, to have my team have all access to that. So have a system like that. It also helps you get consistent, because Office 365, you can add, one user up to like 4,000 users eventually, so that everybody has a consistent email address. That's also going to make you look like you're a big company too, because everybody has the same extension for your emails. Okay, I hope that helped you. All right, Gabrielle, I am looking for suggestions or ideas for incentivizing team members for raising their total sales during shifts. Ideally, suggestions that have been tried before with positive outcomes. And your background. I have a chain of retail stores specializing in natural and holistic wellness. This objective of raising sales can be done a few ways, like getting more customers, having them come back more often, and in my opinion, the easiest one would be to improve at upselling existing customers. Very true. My biggest challenge is finding an incentive program that encourages more sales without creating tension between team members, or have them in any way feel the reward system is unfair or favorable to some. So one of the things that I do is, half my team is recruiting. Now, most recruiting companies is a commission-based thing. And honestly, I didn't want to do a commission-based thing. One of our 4 core values here is collaboration. If I did a commission thing, that collaboration idea would be out the door. Okay, so what I decided to do is, now we have quarterly bonuses. And those quarterly bonuses is based upon how the company does as a team. And I actually have a goal for my HR consulting team, and I have a goal for my TA, my talent acquisition team. They have to hit that goal first in order to get any bonus at all. And then we broke that bonus down as to, we actually have percentages to each of them as to how well do you basically do and show our 4 core values. And we like to hear from them of the things that they've done for that. To how you had goals for that quarter. Did you achieve those goals for this quarter? So that really depends upon the company goal as well as their individual goals. So they feel as if, like, they can get, it's a 2.5 we give per quarter, 2.5 on the annual base salary, and they have to hit all these goals. They hit those goals as a team, they win, and they see that. And so I share this information at town hall. I don't share net income, I share gross sales. And I think when you start seeing that, they feel like a team together and really moving. And I am telling you, the bonus for us has been extremely helpful. And our productivity has gone through the roof. They've really helped each other successful. I see it on my Microsoft Teams, how much collaboration is happening between them to be successful. They share even resumes with each other. An average recruiting firm would never do that, ever, because it's basically, the fastest guy wins. We are not that way here. It's basically, hey, that team for that quarter wins. And so they feel as if they're working together as a team. So I think sometimes, it's hard because you don't want people to go against each other. And to me, I think it's more powerful if you are working together as a team versus individually, but that's my personal opinion. To get started, but there's just simple ways to do that. And then we also do, for each quarter, we do the Fab 4, and the Fab 4 basically is 4 people that have gone above and beyond that quarter in regards to just doing great things out there. And you know what, and so we call them the Fab 4, and that too has really incentivized a lot of people to go above and beyond in their numbers. People just like to get recognized. And that's not even involving money. That's like fun things that they get from us. So there's so many different ways. And if you want to talk offline, feel free to do that. But to me, I'm bigger about collaboration and all too, because I don't want a place here that people feel like, oh, that person always wins, I'm never going to get there. To here, it's much more of like, we're a team. How can we all be successful? Someone's struggling, they all reach out to that person. It's much better. And not only that, we have a lot more people that stay with us because of it too. Okay. And then Oscar, last question. Hi Sean, as I'm getting my business growing, how do you recommend for me to pay myself? I'm in a car business. Should I pay myself from each sale I do? Is there a formula or percentage I should put aside from each sale for overhead and pay myself? Thank you. I think it really depends upon, Oscar, how are you set up? Are you set up as an LLC? Are you set up as an S corp? You want to make sure that taxes are taken out if you're an LLC per quarter. You have to figure out what you can afford. What I did when I first started, I just paid myself the amount I needed to pay for mortgage, and everything else I had went right back into the company to build it and to grow it and to pay for my employees. And I did that for a while, but I was the breadwinner and I had to make sure that that mortgage was paid for. I cut back on everything for about a good 3 years, and but I made sure that mortgage was paid. So you can pay yourself by a check. You just have to make sure that that's income to you, that the taxes aren't taken care of, such as like Medicare, Social Security, and also each quarter you're going to have to fill out tax forms, or you just want to make sure you do that every quarter, because if you don't do that at year end and they see income on there, they're going to basically give you penalties and interest, which you do not want. So I would definitely work with your bookkeeper on that is the best way, because it really depends. Like for example, like an S corp, which is what I am now, I get paid as a W-2. But my tax accountant told me not to take out as much as a base salary, because I can do shared distributions as well. So I can take that as a separate piece of it without really getting taxed, because under an S corp it's a little different. But you just don't want to go crazy with that, because that's when you can get really hurt. So you want to make sure that as of right now you can pay yourself a check. You just want to make sure it's what you need to survive and get by on, versus basically robbing the bank. I think one of the things I've seen with a lot of startup entrepreneurs is they all think they need the big office, they need the big car, they need the best laptop, they need the best of everything. What I would suggest, especially for the first 3 years of getting off the ground, is number one, take your time. Number two, figure out what you really need to survive. And number three, you will get all those things. You need to be patient. Figure out what you need to pay your employees, keep things moving, keep the lights on first, and then figure out what do I need, what's my minimum amount I need to survive for right now. You will get paid down the road much bigger paychecks. You just got to be patient for right now when you get started, okay? Because I've seen a lot of people go under because they spent too much money on their marketing brochures, their offices, their business cards, all that stuff. Figure out what you really need right now to basically get moving. And if you don't need any of that, then don't buy it yet. Buy it when you actually have surplus. Right now you don't, and so you want to make sure you're spending that money on things you need, like a bookkeeper, like your payroll services, employees, new stuff and all. You want to make sure you're spending money on that, because that's going to help you grow and scale. And then eventually you can pay yourself, but just figure out what you do need, the minimum amount you need to survive right now, okay? That's my suggestion for you. All right, guys, it's been real. It's been awesome. Tambourine time. And have a wonderful day. Do 3 great things today. Whether it's complimenting somebody, whether it's just being thankful for day and being grateful out there and all to you, but you make a difference. And make sure you don't forget the HR guys out there too, because it does make a difference to have a really good HR system in your system. But congratulations, being an entrepreneur is an amazing feat. It's hard, it's tedious, but it's the best job you'll ever have, besides being a parent. But nonetheless, have a great day out there. Talk soon. Take care, guys.